So, Foreign Minister, why is the U.S. representative, what do you say that this representative is lying? Let's take use of this opportunity to say how the Cuban people is hurting by this inhumane blockade that has been standing for over 60 years.
Well, surprisingly this year, the U.S. Secretary of State, they have deployed a very intense strategy of pressures against almost all member states of the United Nations, in particular against Europe. It is surprising, in the first place, because this is an issue on which the United States has always disregarded. It has considered irrelevant. We will need to ask ourselves why, even in the face of this deployment of diplomatic policies at the highest level with two memorandums in which they pressure, blackmail, urge certain countries to modify their speech and vote in regards to the blockade. Why? Why even, besides the letters that they have sent to different leaders and foreign ministers in different latitudes of the world, threatening them with sanctions if they maintain their vote and position, their traditional position, they have also unleashed a toxic campaign through the official accounts of the U.S. State Department and the highest officials of the embassies of the United States. The U.S. mission itself before the United Nations. This is a signal of desperation. It's a signal of acknowledging that the aggressive hostile policies against Cuba are rejected completely by the UN General Assembly, by the international community. It is a signal that they see the deep isolation and to which their government is submitted in this generalization as well as in others. And it's also a point that points to the perception that this genocidal policy that violates international law only brings discredit to the U.S. government. This agenda that seems to be very personal and very corrupt on the part of the U.S. Secretary of State, highly related with the worst interest, political interest in Florida, also harm the foreign interests of the United States. Disregards, ignores, and violates the opinions of the U.S. citizens who in their vast majority support the lifting of the blockade and the normalization of relations. The taxpayers are the ones that are paying this deployment, as well as they are paying the military deployment in the Caribbean that I mentioned before. Or Cubans that are living in the United States that have been betrayed by these, which are the worst political interests of that nation, that are now part of the anti-immigrant policy that is extremely repressive and racist that is being applied against them. I felt obliged to interrupt the speech of the permanent representative of the United States. I had barely just arrived here to this General Assembly because the way he spoke was with great disrespect towards the President of the UN General Assembly, towards all member states. He referred to the UN General Assembly as a political theater. He said that the state members confess in private that they want to do something else. He, besides slandering and saying lies, he lacked any civility, lack of the basic protocol that is called upon to any diplomatic representative in this important national General Assembly. He did it very rudely, arrogantly, and with no and with no education. That's why I was forced to be called to order.
Foreign Minister,